The debate over same-sex marriage continuing in legislatures across America and apparently in Florida now. We're talking about it with State Representative Scott Plakin, a Republican from Longwood, and Hannah Willard with Equality Florida. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Representative Plakin, you're the sponsor of this bill, which some folks might end up calling the Florida Pastor Protection Act. That's what it's being called in Texas and Tennessee. Why are you doing this?
Well, thanks for having us on. Senator and Bean are working on drafting this bill, which simply says that pastors, clergy, and churches cannot be required to solemnize ceremonies that might violate their deeply held and sincerely held religious beliefs. It's only 2 paragraphs, and we think it's just common sense, and it'll provide them protection and comfort since this whole thing is so quickly moving.
Hannah, what's your reaction to that?
This bill is completely unnecessary. No pastor or church will be required to marry any couple whom they wish not to marry. That's always been the case. It will continue to be the case. And the recent Supreme Court ruling has nothing to do with pastors and churches who choose to refrain from participating in same-sex marriage ceremonies.
Representative Plakin, before this interview, you and I were talking a little bit, and you told me that you've already spoken to some pastors locally who would like these protections.
Yes, I have spoke to a number of pastors over the last few days, and there's a lot of concern about there. 5 years ago, both Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton stood for traditional marriage. In fact, he ran on it the first time. And now, the other night, we have the White House lit up with the rainbow colors. So to predict that one day that wouldn't come, I think, is not wise. And I think there's nothing wrong with giving pastors and other religious practitioners this comfort so that that's something that can be taken off the table, that one day they won't have to face that. And we think it's just common sense.
Hannah, is it common sense for an added measure of security and comfort, peace of mind for our clergy?
This bill is just completely unnecessary. These protections are redundant, they're frivolous, and in fact, they're confusing. They imply that these protections do not already exist, and there are much more important protections that we should be worrying about passing, including protections for the LGBT community here in Florida.
Hannah, in organizational meetings and conference calls, and when you sort of scan the mood across the country, is the same-sex marriage movement, the gay rights movement, is there a plan to target churches if they won't perform a same-sex marriage ceremony?
Absolutely not. We have seen quite the opposite. We've seen an outpouring of love and support from communities of faith leaders who have stepped up in support of the freedom to marry. Many churches do embrace same-sex couples with open arms and perform their marriage ceremonies. And those who wish to refrain will absolutely never be required to perform same-sex marriage ceremonies.
All right, Scott and Hannah, the debate will continue, I'm sure. Thanks for your insights tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.